Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stephen Breach coming to you today, talking about the upcoming fight. Hopefully, maybe not, between Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. This is a fight that honestly has been in the works for probably about a year. The biggest name in MMA going up against the biggest name in boxing. I think that honestly, this fight comes down to one thing: cash. What honestly these guys are both about. Floyd Money Mayweather, the guy that has made more money than anybody in the sport of professional boxing. Conor McGregor, the guy that is looking to hold up MMA and UFC for the most money possible. Conor McGregor right now is the hottest name in MMA. Conor McGregor buys every time he does UFC fights. I believe his last 3 fights are over 1 million buys altogether. And no one really brings him in like that other than Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey has a fight at the end of the year, right after Christmas. We'll see what the loss that she had in her last fight, if it will bring people back to watching Ronda, or if maybe the round robin of the UFC Women's Championship has sort of turned people off to the fact that maybe they don't think of Ronda as being a big name, or maybe they can tell that Ronda is only coming back for that cash grab. Ronda has said that she only has a few fights left in her. If Ronda loses this fight, it might be the last time we ever see her again. But in the long story chain of events, basically in a way of trying to hold up UFC, trying to get more money, Conor has done just about everything. He basically retired, which made him lose the UFC 200 fight right after 4th of July by basically saying that UFC wasn't going to pay him enough, so he was just going to walk away and say that was it. He was a smart man. He wasn't going to get beaten up for next to nothing. Reminds you a lot of Latrell Sprewell with the Minnesota Timberwolves, and basically just, I think the Timberwolves offered him like a 3-year deal, paying him like $24 million, and he just basically said, "How am I going to, feed my family?" And that news sort of spread through the NBA, and ended up never getting another NBA contract again. I think he did come back on a 10-day deal for a minimum pay for the Los Angeles Clippers to be the last guy on the bench, but I mean, never got big money ever again. And he could have had $24 million sitting in his pocket right now, but he doesn't. And I think that's what he's remembered more than anything, in my mind, more than choking his coach in Golden State, more than that really good Minnesota team that went to the conference finals against the Lakers, that had a chance to win it with Kevin Garnett and Sam Cassell, but just blew it up big time. This is a fight that, honestly, in my mind, is a lot like the Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather fight. It was a fight that took years and years and years and years to put together. And when we finally got it, it was, money-making, historic buys. I remember thinking the week of the fight, nobody is really talking about this. I thought that, honestly, when they came out with the price value of $100 for the pay-per-view, that there was no way in the world people were going to order this on a whim. Either they were going to plan a huge house party that was going to have 10 or more people involved to get you down to like $10 a head to watch the show, everybody chipping in. But when it came down to it, nobody planned those parties because nobody thought that anybody was going to want to do it. Everybody sat home alone, and everybody ordered that fight, and it was horrible. And then came the huge talks of all that basically Manny Pacquiao had a shoulder injury, and then Floyd Mayweather's camp wouldn't let Manny Pacquiao get a shot in order to make him better, which made him weak going into the fight, which made the fight boring as hell. And just two fighters going out there and just sort of doing their best not really to do anything. And why they haven't gone back to that to do a rematch, I'm not sure. Maybe it's the point that the first fight soured so many people. But Floyd Mayweather is a guy that honestly is getting up there in age, sitting at, I believe, 49-0. He needs a fight to get that big money-making 50. But his deal just ended with Showtime. Some people say he's going to go back to HBO. Some people say he's going to stay retired. Some people say he's going to sign a deal with CBS and have his fights there. But one way or another, if this Conor versus Floyd Mayweather fight happens, people say that it's going to be a knockout of the park. No way in the world Conor has a shot in the world to win this. But honestly, in my mind, Floyd Mayweather is a guy that has knocked out some people in his time, but in his last few fights, Floyd Mayweather fights go the distance. even when they put him up against that chump, Mayweather didn't knock him out. It is what it is. Guys get older. They don't have the shots that they do. Mayweather has always been a real defensive fighter. And another reason is that Mayweather and Conor McGregor both sort of Showtime show artists. I mean, like, even when Conor McGregor was getting beat down by Chad Mendes in that big fight, and Mendes had him pinned down on the floor and was punching him in the face, and Conor really wasn't able to do a whole lot, but he was doing enough to where the fight wasn't getting stopped. Conor was yelling at Mendes, get the shots in now because he wasn't going to get him later. Is that all you got? Is that, this, that, or the other? They put on a show to make the people feel like they're getting their money's worth. With Floyd Mayweather, the big scam is that everybody orders his fights because they want to see him get knocked out. Yesterday I was watching PTI. They were talking about this fight, and basically my main man on the show was saying that that's the reason why he wants to see Floyd keep fighting, is because he doesn't want his career to end without seeing Floyd Mayweather, out in the middle of the ring snoozing. He wants to see him get knocked out because he's talked all that talk for years and wants to see somebody be able to step up to the plate and do it. Honestly, in my opinion, I know that Conor is going to be locked into some sort of a contract. We'll have to see if it's this deal with him going and getting a boxing license is sort of a deal where, you see a lot of MMA guys splitting off and going in different directions, trying to form a union. I think the one thing that's going to be wrong with all these unions is there's so many different ones. If one union was able to unify all of those groups and pull them together. The one group that had the press conference on, I believe, Monday, they've got George St. Pierre, they've got Kane, they've got Cerrone, they've got 3 big names from UFC. But I mean, if they were able to get a major group of guys to go in there, even if they're undercard guys, it's going to be able to support their team a whole lot better. Unions that stand strong in the United States are filled with people that make big money, little money, and no money. Everybody stands together because at the end of the day, if one group's walking off, they're all walking off. And let's say if this main group, main guys, George St. Pierre, who's not even fighting for right now because he's trying to get big time money in order to come back. You've got Kane, who's going to be having a fight, I believe. He might be on the 28th show with Ronda Rousey. And Cerrone's got a fight coming up soon. Even if they do walk off and say they're not going to fight for UFC is just going to fill those holes with mid-card guys and treat them like they're main eventers and hopefully create another main event star in order to fill them in. And that union is just going to be on the background, not making any money. And not being able to stand strong. So some people say that basically what Conor is doing, going out and getting a boxing license, is basically being able to try and step out around the UFC contract, trying to use a clause called the Ali Boxing Clause, I believe, or Ali Boxing Rule, which sort of goes against a lot of these contracts, where he can be able to make more money than what his contract is worth right now. Some people basically say that maybe he just wants to have this fight against Mayweather. Some people say a lot of different things, but I think we're a long way from this fight happening. Floyd Mayweather, his group came out the other day and said that basically UFC's contract isn't going to let Conor step into a ring. But then again, Conor's contract might only say that it is exclusive to a 6-sided or 8-sided octagon, something like that. And but then again, people say that he can't just go walk right into WWE and can't walk right into wrestling. So maybe it does cover all sorts of rings or octagons, 6-sided, TNA rings or whatever's going on. But if this fight does happen, I mean, it's another fight that honestly could push that pay-per-view value to 100, 120, maybe even 150. This is a fight that people are going to want to see. I think that people need to pay attention, if that is, the boxing group, or if it is UFC trying to make this happen some way. There's no way in the world that I see... Oh, it missed me. Ooh, shopping cart got the other car. Son of a bitch. That sucks for them. I thought it had run right into my car. But I think the UFC needs to pay attention, find some way to make some money off of this, whether if it's just signing some clause where they make 20% of the pay-per-view deal. Get a little piece of it. You got to be scared Conor might get knocked out, but Conor's a tough dude. I don't see him getting knocked out. Maybe going to the decision and losing that way, but you go into somebody else's sport and you lose by standing strong for however many rounds they want to go, 5, 10, 12, not getting knocked out against a professional boxer. It is what it is. I think he looks pretty good.